Ah, motherhood. 1 minute, you're mom of the year.
I love you, Mommy.
Then the next, not so much. From bath time to bullying, from potty training to puberty, parenting is full of challenges. But one thing is for certain, you are not alone. Welcome to Modern Mom Probs. I'm your host, author, mother, parenting expert, Tara Clark. Join me while we tackle today's modern mom problems. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Modern Mom Probs. I am your girl, Tara, here on Modern Mom Problems. We're trying to solve the world's modern mom problems. And if we can't do that, hey, at least we're having fun talking about them. And today we are going to have fun talking about some very serious problems. Today's problem of the day is breaking down the Gen Z mental health crisis. I am joined by two incredible women. They are the dynamic duo, the brilliant minds behind the Little Brain Campaign podcast. Meet Jessica Eisenstat. She is a licensed professional counselor, and Dr. LaRose, a board-certified child and adolescent psychiatrist. They're two moms who happen to be mental health providers for children, and here they are talking about real conversations both here and on their podcast. Their podcast is all about authentically discussing everything related to children from, just about everything. Promising smiles, realness, and a little bit of explicit language along the way. You can expect a little bit about that today, but we're having an open and honest conversation. So without any further ado, I'm so thrilled to bring on Jessica and Lauren. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
I'm so excited that you guys are both here because I was on your podcast a few weeks ago, the Little Brain Campaign, and we had so much fun talking that I was like, you have to come on my show and we have to continue this conversation. And so here we are continuing this conversation. And it's a really important conversation because today we're going to be breaking down the Gen Z mental health crisis. But before we do that, can you just give us a little bit of insight into who you are and what you do?
Yeah. Okay, so I am a psychiatrist. I am board certified in child and adolescent psychiatry and adult psychiatry. So I see kids, teens, and adults. I have a private practice, solo private practice. What really got me to start the podcast, though, was experiences in my own life. I have a child who had a lot of really severe behavioral and emotional challenges. And we ended up finding out after we started the podcast that he has a disease called PANS disease. But my journey with him made me want to speak out and talk about all of the things that I see, not just at home, but in my practice every day, all day long. That's me.
Jessica Eisenstat here. Hello. LPC, that's licensed professional counselor. I've worked in the community. I worked in the charter school system for about 8 years with special education. I currently have a private practice. I see kids. I do parenting. I'm starting to see some just moms, individually. I'll start with kids, then I'll do parents. And then it's you know what, mom, let's just do you and me, girl. Anyways, and so as it relates to desire to start the podcast, I mean, Lauren and I have very similar value systems, and we differ as it relates to nature and nurture as cause for behavioral issues, mental health issues, et cetera, and so on. And we just would have fun, during breaks, bantering. We were this could be an interesting little situation. So why? I mean, in addition to Lauren's journey personally, but adding that into, the podcast and the vibe.
Yeah, you guys are a great vibe, which is why, like I said, we had so much fun a few weeks ago that I was we have to just keep all of this going because I love your energy and I love your vibe. No, it's true. But Lauren, I want to ask you a little bit about PANS and pandas because can you explain what that is? And then also, while you were going through this journey, were you thinking oh, maybe it's this or oh, maybe it's that, and you weren't really quite sure where to land on it?
So I'll explain what it is first. So PANS is pediatric acute onset neuropsychiatric syndrome. It's a real mouthful. PANDAS is pediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorder associated with streptococcal infections. Okay, so it's the same symptoms, it's the same disease presentation, but different causes. So PANDAS is caused by strep infection. PANS is caused by anything else that's not a strep infection. So my son has PANS, and his was caused primarily by walking pneumonia, which he had when he was about 20 months old. But then we found out later he also had mold toxicity, which was just like breeding the inflammation in his body. So both of these diseases are, they're causing inflammation in the brain. It's actually causing a type of encephalitis, so like brain inflammation, and it affects part of the brain called the basal ganglia. And that part of the brain is responsible for tons of different things like mood, behavior, impulse control, motor actions, et cetera, et cetera. So with my kids, so we were kind of taught when I was in, this was starting to be talked about when I was probably in late medical school into residency. And it was definitely something that we were taught was not real, basically. We were taught that it was kind of a bunch of BS.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this was not something I believed in at all until my child was diagnosed. So I was not looking for this diagnosis. So starting when he was pretty little, we were seeing just like worsening and worsening behavioral and emotional issues. And so I was going down the routes that I knew to go down as a child psychiatrist. So like I put him in OT when he was really little. And I remember taking him to the eval and they said like, we don't think anything's wrong with him, like sensory wise. And I literally had to beg them just to see him. I was like, I'll pay for it out of pocket. Please see him because I am desperate for help. Like, I don't know how to help my child. And so they saw him for a while and then they were like, we don't think we can help him anymore. And so they discharged him. And then I was like, oh my God, now what do I do? And so I got him into play therapy with Jessica. That's how we met.
Oh, is that how you met? I was wondering.
I literally found Jessica on Google because I was like looking for a play therapist that didn't know me because I didn't want someone who knew me and then was going to like come into it with any kind of like biases or preconceived notions or whatever, or just like treat me differently because I'm a psychiatrist and we share patients. I wanted someone that I did not know. Fortunately,
total fresh slate,
normal person. Thank God. So she saw him for a while, and then it just like everything was escalating. We ended up having to get him to see someone that would see him at school. He ended up with a shadow, and I had tried like every medication that I would for a kid his age, tried prescribing them like with the pediatrician. I wasn't directly prescribing them.
Sure.
And it just like was getting worse and not getting better. And so his pediatrician, who he had always been with, was opening a separate practice where she was doing like integrative medicine or like functional type practices, which I did not believe in at the time. I thought that was a bunch of BS too. But I was desperate. I was like so desperate. And so I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm going to put my beliefs and my ego and my pride aside and reach out to her and just beg her to help me. And that is how we ended up getting the diagnosis.
Wow.
And he is light years beyond where he was before he was diagnosed. So I'm so thankful that I like just was able to go into it with an open mind and like be convinced that it was a thing. Yeah.
And you trusted your gut early on that something was amiss, that something wasn't necessarily standard. And you said, okay, well, let me investigate this. And you kept trying. It wasn't like you said, oh, well, it was OTO. It wasn't that. Okay, well, I guess that's not it. And then you just moved on. Like, no, you were persistent and luckily you were.
Yeah. And I always say, like, I kind of think he was, I mean, this is going to sound so woo-woo, but I feel like he was like given to me for a reason, you know, because I always think like if he had ended up with a parent who didn't have any sort of medical training or mental health training, like God only knows where he would end up. He would end up in a psych hospital on probably antipsychotics at some point because he was totally out of control. And like, thank God I knew, like, looking at him, that this is like, I was looking at him and I was like, this is not a psychiatric problem. Like, he has some kind of like neurological issue going on and I don't know what it is. And so, I mean, I really had to push though. I had to push a lot to get him diagnosed.
Yeah. And you're not alone in that. I mean, many parents unfortunately have to struggle very hard, not just with PANS necessarily, but with the diagnosis in general in the medical system, which is going to take me into our next conversation, speaking about the mental health crisis of Gen Z. And my guess is he's probably a Gen Alpha, I'm guessing. So he's a little bit, I don't know where the cutoff is. Well, it's interesting actually, because if you ask my son, he will say that he's a Gen Z because he was born at the end of 2012. So but then I've also seen other cutoffs where it's more like 2011, 2010. So like, just to give an idea of generation, let's just call it 2011 until, I don't know let me backtrack that for like another 15 years. I don't know, to whatever. Let's say 1999 or something like that, right? I'm not quoting that exactly, and I probably could, but let's look it up, shall we? Just because I don't want like people to be like,
no, I actually don't know. I know it's like 90s that it starts, right? Okay,
here we go. They're saying this is from Google. Gen Z is between 97 and 2012.
Okay.
So that translates to the age group of roughly 13 years old to 28 years old, which is a big age group, because my son is nearly 13. And so he's
13 to 28. Is that what you said?
Yes, 13 to 28. So big age group. So that's just to give people context of the age range that we're speaking about, though. So what are some of the big issues that you've been seeing either amongst your own patients or anecdotally online? Give me all the stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw this one to Jess.
Okay. So, I mean, I think anxiety, perfectionism, comparing self to others, and like, obviously, right? Because there's 85,000 more ways to compare yourself to others versus like when, I don't know what gen are we?
Millennials? Aren't we millennials?
Yeah, millennials.
87?
Yeah, millennials.
Millennials.
Like,
firmly millennials.
Yeah. As compared to like the 87ers, where it's like, oh, it's MTV or it's a magazine or it's Us Weekly. Like we didn't have 1,000 different ways to compare ourselves.
Right.
So it's just inflamed, insecurities. And so, I feel like with my younger ones, what's after Gen Z?
Gen Alpha.
Yeah, I actually don't even know.
Oh, the look on your face.
I thought you were joking earlier when you said
no. I'm super serious.
Is it going to be beta? Does it start like going?
Yeah, the betas are being born right now.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm learning so much.
Yes.
Okay.
So the Gen Alphas right now are children and early tweens.
Yeah.
Like your kids are Gen Alphas, and Gen Betas are literally infants. Like they are being born as we speak.
Okay.
All right.
Got it.
So like the Gen Zers, I find in my practice, it's like I said, insecurity, anxiety, perfectionism. And then with the Alphas, it's kind of the opposite. It's, not like overly confident, but not respecting boundaries and like not respecting limits and kind of taking on identities that are older than them. Like I'm thinking of one in particular that I have, who's this little girl is like at 7, and this bitch walks in and she's 25. Like she has nails and she's like, she's like, you're dumb. Like the way she, and like, that's fine. It's just in such an interesting, like, extreme, like one extreme to the other. Anyway, so.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. The other day we were at a practice for my son and there was a girl much younger than him. And she probably was, 7 or 8 years old. And she was talking to her other little friend who was also the same age. And she was like, Yeah, so I like to go to Starbucks and get a refresher, and then we'll probably like hit up Target or something. And my husband, like, it was
Exactly my client.
so funny. And my husband, like, because he's not as privy to those kind of like conversations or just children in general like that, aside from our own child, he was like, "Oh my God, she sounded like a 40-year-old woman," and I was like, "I know, babe, that's what they sound like."
I mean, it's scary, and like, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, that's.
Why do you think that is, though, Jess? Like, do you think it's because they're being influenced from what they see on television or online? Like, do they have an older sister? Like, where do you think people are getting this influence?
I mean, I'm a nurture girl. You know, I think the way we were raised, we're millennials. Yeah, like it was. I guess I know I'm get confused. Like the standards were different as it relates to expectations of children and the way you parent and things like that. And then you have Gen Z, where I feel like it started to swing, like the parenting, like way to parent started to kind of swing, where like kids deserve like respect, you know, which they do. I'm not saying they don't, but like, what is like that family's definition of respect and how is that translating? You know, I just, and then the younger ones, I think it's totally swung, totally the opposite. I mean, like in that way, where there's just so much freedom and so many feelings and so much validation and so much like, what did we say? We said this, like too much freedom to choose, you know, and access. Yeah. Like there's so much access with Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And God, there was like a phrase that we used and it was like parents, God, as it relates to like tech, it was like, we're like parents are putting so much like faith in kids' ability to be responsible. Yes. To, like, manage tech and social media and whatever, all of that shit on their own. And not. And so then you have the 7-year-old, you know, who's 7 and has 7-year-old developmentally appropriate behaviors like impulse control, talking back, testing limits. But then you add in all of this shit that they're not supposed to be privy to or even exposed to. Right. And so then it's like development's a scatter plot anyways, but then it's like this, they're scattered up here and then they're scattered down there. And it becomes really hard to start closing that gap. Yeah. And so you know, so then parents panic and we get more people in our office and, you know, that's.
So it's probably like a perfect storm of like parenting trends changing. Yeah. And this like wild access to this like rapidly evolving technology that like evolved so fast, parents could not keep up with it. I mean, there's no way, like Gen Z parents could not keep up with that. And so they had no idea what their kids were being exposed to. And it's like, you can't like put that.
You can't put it back in the box once it's out. Like, well, you know, it's like a Pandora's box thing. Like you can't put that information back once they see it or consume it or that kind of stuff. Yeah, I totally understand. I think about that a lot with my son and his friends because yes, they are on the cusp of being 13, but they are still children. Yeah. And they see things on YouTube and know a lot about a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, like they still may be sleeping with stuffies.
Yes.
You know, or they want to sit and play with their Legos.
How confusing is that for a 13-year-old boy? Yeah. You know? And like even like, screens and all that stuff, but even like TV, like what TV looks like now. Yep. Like, what is like allowed, I get like what TV shows that like I think of Friends and like that's low risk if your kid is like hanging out while you're watching Friends.
The show Friends.
Yes. Yeah. The show Friends. And now like I just think of like sitcoms and like there's cursing in it. There's sexual like language in it. Like the communication, the way people talk to each other. And so it's just like, even if you are trying to limit like individualized screen time, like it's like inescapable. Yep.
Yeah, no, it really is. I was thinking that, you know, we talk a lot of smack about kids these days and what screens they're watching, but I was watching the movie Pretty Woman when I was 10 years old. And like, I should not have been watching that movie at that time. And I watched the I watched the shit out of that movie when I was 10 years old. And like, I didn't understand it, but then like, you know, you watch it enough times and then you start to understand it.
Yeah. And like, I also wonder, like at 10, and maybe you can answer this more, like 10 is getting close to puberty, right?
Yep.
And so like cognitively, now I'm not talking about you, I'm just saying like a 10-year watch.
Yeah.
Back then, like cognitively you don't understand it, but I wonder if your physical body reacts to scenes. You know,
at 10 years old, I already had my period. So I was watching that as, and I'm using this in quote, like as a woman, because I was menstruating at that point. But whether that was right or not is a different story.
No, but like, it's just like an interesting, like, and again, confusing thing.
I think it's confusing. I think that's what it is. I think it's hard to have one foot in childhood and one foot in adulthood with this media consumption. Again, whether that was in 1990 when that movie came out, or whether it's, you know, 2025. And that was only just one example of a movie, but with the phones and with YouTube and streaming and Netflix and all of that kind of stuff, there's just like constant stuff on. There's just like constant options to have who knows what kind of stuff that the kids are consuming. And, you know, I often think about, this is going off in a different tangent, but it's all related. I often think about weight and body image, because when we were kids as millennials, right, we were fed this very thin supermodel, you know, like super thin. What was her name? Like Kate Moss, like that kind of thing. That was huge. The waif look. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for.
Coke chic, I think is what.
Yes, it was. It was heroin chic. It was a really big deal in the 90s. And it was. And we saw that. And we saw like the George Michael video where all the supermodels are dancing or whatever. And which was a great video. Love that song. Freedom. Like, love it. But that was what we grew up on. And then for a while, we as a society and the image that we saw, we're moving away from that, and people they were showing more regular people, which is amazing because bodies come in all shapes and sizes. And then recently in the last like maybe 2 years, because there's been such a prevalence of Ozempic, it's really swinging the other way. And so now kids are starting to see the other images, like just as where I felt like we were like getting to a point where we're like, this is great. We're talking about body neutrality, and we're talking like, thank you body for waking up in the morning, and thank you for my legs for being able to run and my arms to be able to hug people. Like that's where we were heading. And then all of a sudden I feel like now we're switching over because of the GLP-1s. What do you think about that?
Well, and like that, but also, you know, since like social media has developed in this way of like filters and everybody, like it's crazy watching, if you watch a young person like I feel so old saying that, you watch a young person like take selfies or like someone taking pictures of them, and they know exactly how to like pose their body in these certain ways with like the foot up and the hip on the side.
I wish I knew how to
and I'm like I was at the beach last week and I'm watching this girl for like 30 minutes. She had, I don't know if it was her mom or some older lady taking pictures of her in her bikini, and she's doing all the like poses, and it's like exactly in the way that makes like her waist look super skinny and her boobs look big and her butt look big and blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And then I know she's going to go add filters on top of that, you know? And it's like, it's just this, these like
standards,
that like are never achievable, you know, this like ridiculous standards of perfection.
Is back to school shopping stressing you out, dreading those long lists and running from store to store hunting for supplies? Yeah, I totally get it. This year, there's a better way. Introducing teacherlists.com, the website that makes back to school shopping a breeze. Teacher Lists takes teachers' back to school supply lists and transforms them into easy to use shoppable lists online. That means no more scrambling to find the right notebooks or mystery markers. Teacher Lists connects with major retailers like Target, Walmart, Amazon, Staples, and many more. So you could shop for everything you need at your favorite store with just a click. No more running from store to store. Teacher Lists ensures that you get the exact items that your child's teacher wants, so your child could be fully prepared and confident on the first day of school. This back-to-school season, ditch the stress and embrace the ease. Head over to teacherlists.com to order those supplies today. Happy shopping.
I feel very thankful that like social media was not around when I was growing up.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah,
No.
me too.
I would have
cannot
had.
imagine.
I
would have been a disaster.
I mean,
Yeah.
like as
Yeah.
a girl,
Like
as a
I was
13-year-old
insecure
girl,
without it.
having to see that stuff, like I cannot imagine what that does.
No.
To your,
But also,
Psyche.
like, why? Like, why are you in a bikini? Like, why are you sexualizing yourself?
well, this girl was like probably 20.
Oh, JK.
But still,
She goes JK.
it was like such a bizarre, and I was like sitting with my sister and my brother-in-law watching this, okay? And I was like, isn't this like bizarre? Like when we were that age, we were taking pictures with our friends. Like you'd be at the beach and you're like, I want to take a picture with my friends so that I remember being at the beach with my friends. Like
Mhm.
never like took a picture by myself,
No.
you know, and like posted it. Like,
But that's also another thing. Like this, I mean, two things. We were covering. Also, we were like, no one wants to take our cover up off. Like, no one was like,
and it was like full size
"Ooh!"
bikini bottoms.
Yeah, like
Full
we were all
coverage.
like, we're fat. Like that was just like the norm. So there's that.
Yeah.
And number two, like girls, and like this is good, bad, I don't know. Like it wasn't. You didn't want to be like the center.
No,
Like, but draw attention to yourself.
you're almost like hiding behind your friends.
You
like,
want it,
you know?
yeah. Like you weren't,
Mhm.
you know, and so like, I don't know if that like good, bad, ugly, whatever. I don't know, but it's just something like how, like, is that parenting? Is that social media? It's probably more social media. Like,
Well, it just creates such like a self-centered.
self-centered.
Yeah, let's talk about that. That's true. It one thing that I really don't care for in this new like social media world, and this again is going to make me sound old, but I don't care, is the concept of main character energy.
Mhm.
And that everyone has main character energy.
Yep.
And so I think that could be argued both ways. One person can be like, no, it's great. It's confidence. You got to get out there and live your life. You're the main character. Do that. Or are people so selfish that their main character energy and that they're not caring for others? I don't know. I think it could
Yeah.
be debated either way.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a range, but I would say I do definitely believe that social media is making that range shift in the direction towards like self-centeredness and selfishness and not
Mhm.
thinking about other people for sure. Because it's like, gosh, if you can, you know, sit on stand on a beach for 30 minutes taking pictures of yourself, like, and then it's like, what else are you missing out on? Like, you're not playing in the water. You're not like
But at that-
having a conversation with someone. I don't know.
Yeah, no. But like, as it relates to like main character energy, like that girl is probably severely insecure.
Yeah.
Like people who spend that much time or that much effort or like like the frequency of which they post individualized whatever, that's like a direct correlation or sign or whatever that they are highly insecure.
Yeah.
And so like, is that main character energy or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
like
yeah.
fake main. That's like
Yes,
not real
agreed.
main character.
artificial. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Like artificial main character because
Yeah.
you don't, if someone thinks that image and optics are how to be a main character, then like that shit fades and you end up like not even having an identity.
Well, and it's like the only reason you're posting content like that is
Attention.
to get external validation.
Correct.
There is no other reason.
Right. And that goes with like, that is the Gen Z shit. So
Yeah.
like, so that I think is a big part of it.
Yes.
And I see it all the time in my office. I know you do too.
Mhm.
Like external validation versus internal validation.
Yeah.
External soothing versus self-soothing.
Mhm.
If a kid never learns how to validate internally or self-soothe internally, then they will always forever need something outside of themselves
Yep.
to feel confident, secure, safe, et cetera, et cetera. And so and like no judgment, if a 9-year-old is still sleeping in the bed with their parents, it's because they can't self-soothe and sleep alone in their own room. And if they can't self-soothe and sleep in their own room, how are they going to be able to tackle anything uncomfortable or risky, emotionally risky, or anxiety provoking in the real world, right? And so this girl on the beach I hope she still doesn't sleep with her parents, you know?
Oh man. Yeah, no, it's good. I love that concept of breaking down this external validation versus internal validation, because I think, I mean, that's always been a consideration for previous generations as well. But right now it is so tangible.
Yeah.
With the likes and the views and the comments and quantifying our worth through this stuff it's no wonder why people are ending up having crises. Like there's no surprise in that. I wanted to break down, because there was one thing that you said and it made me think about an article that I was reading earlier, and let me see if I could grab it. And now, of course, like I'm not going to be able to grab it. Okay. So in the Financial Times today, there was an article, it was a study, said the troubling decline in conscientiousness. Young adults' personalities are changing, with conscientiousness in free fall. And the next one is the digital world outcompeting real world commitment? I mean, there are graphs. I mean, the graphs are literally in free fall. You could see them absolutely. So extroversion and trust are also in decline. Interesting concept. So what do you think about the decrease of conscientiousness in today's world amongst the young adults?
I would say that goes in line with this increase in self-centeredness, right? Or, main character and our artificial main character energy, where like you're thinking, if all of your time is used thinking about yourself and how you appear to others, how they're perceiving you, which like we all have some degree of that, right?
Sure,
like,
of course. Yeah. We're not going to say that nobody does. Like you are your own individual at the end of the day. Yeah.
But like social media really,
but I think it's also the reason behind it. Like, we all want to know how our actions and whatever influences the world around us, but why? It's the why.
Yeah.
Like if it's like a self, is it an optic why? Or is it, do I really care about myself and how I influence and impact the world?
Right. In order to like improve myself or whatever. So I would say it goes in line with that, right? Like if all of your energy is spent just thinking about like how you're perceived and, getting that external validation, then you don't have the mental energy to be thinking about anybody else. Right.
And I think it starts, and this, Lauren talked about this a lot, like individual, like handheld devices. So like thinking about the Gen Alpha.
The little guys. The younger ones.
So like if you think about Gen Z and when they were 5, 6, 7, 8, and like no shame, whatever. This is just what it was. And so like iPads, handheld devices, phones, apps, games, Roblox, whatever came out. If like there's just such a difference between a handheld device as it compares to like a television,
right?
Or whatever. It's very individualized. It's very independent. You are in charge of pausing, fast forwarding, changing, scrolling, whatever. No one else is influencing that.
Right.
You like the volume level, they have earbuds in so they can make it louder or softer. And so if that groundwork is set at 5, 6, 7, 8, then it's just like a breeding ground for main character energy.
Yeah, because you're not having to negotiate.
I like the dance. The dance might be my favorite part for the people that are listening to this. Jess did a really great dance, but if you're watching this on YouTube, then you get to see Jess's amazing dance.
Dancing with the Stars. Call me.
We talked about like, I can't remember what episode that was, but we talked
like a lot. I feel like a lot of them.
Yeah. Where we talk about like, that is so different than watching TV with your siblings, right?
Yeah. Or even around them. Like even like if you're in the kitchen and like your kids are like one of them is watching TV, but here comes another one. They're like, I want to watch TV. You're like, hey, I'm trying to study. Turn it down.
Right. Or they have to negotiate on what they're watching, right? They have to like agree, and it's a communal experience and you talk about what you watch together, right? So yeah, the personal electronic devices, it just like, it is the breeding ground or like the foundation for this like self-centeredness. What I want, when I want it, as fast as I want it.
And if I can't get it,
I want.
And if I can't get it, then I'm going to throw something, yell, tantrum.
Throw a hissy fit.
Yeah. And then that, can translate into school and snowball and whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. At home, I always suggest to my son, like, hey, let's watch a show together. Like, you get to pick the show. I love being able to have the opportunity to like sit next to him and, watch just something as simple as just watching TV together.
Yeah.
Makes a really big difference versus him going up to the playroom and, playing on his computer or something like that. So I think that's important. And up until now, he has like a computer, like with an actual monitor and stuff that he sits and plays at. But before that, he used to play on an iPad. And I always made it a point for him to play in a common area in our room, in our house, whether it was our kitchen, the living room, the dining room, whatever it was, is like so that he was not alone in his bedroom playing. So that was always a very big thing for us in our household. And we're very close and we like to be with each other. So even now,
friends, like he still loves
we are. Yeah, no, we are. We're really, really close. And so that one, that takes a lot of work and two, it takes a lot of intention. And so even yesterday, he came back from a practice and he was like, I'm going to go upstairs and game. And I was like, all right, I'll come hang out with you. And so even if I'm like scrolling my phone or just hanging out, like we just like to be with each other. And so I get an idea of like, what's he watching? What's he listening to? Like it gives me real insight into his life. And I'm very appreciative of that. Yeah. It's important to lay that foundation. And I say that all the time, but I will continue to say that here. But it's interesting. I want to go back to the main character energy for a moment. As you were speaking about this, I was having so many thoughts. And one of the thoughts was, yes, everyone could have main character energy, but doesn't that also mean setting the right boundaries for yourself? Like you could have main character energy privately. It does not always have to be external and public for everyone's consumption. Like I like to have main character energy and I do that by setting boundaries.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I think so. Comb out a little bit of what you're saying. Like, because what I'm thinking is like, you can be a main character and be able to like, not be so loud, I guess. You can be a main character. Like when you say boundaries, what do you mean?
I can be a main character in my life and not post every location that I'm at online, not go to the beach and take a picture in my bikini. If people want to do that, that's fine. That's their prerogative. But I'm saying for me, the way that I would live my best main character energy life is sort of moving in private and not necessarily posting that kind of stuff, not necessarily sharing things that I don't want to share and just living my best life. And that is how I think that I would bring my main character energy.
Yeah. And I think like you like your life, right? So like,
I love it.
The girl,
I have a great life.
Yeah. So you're not a person at this point in your life who needs or wants all that external shit. Sorry, I bleep me out. I don't even know if I'm allowed to curse.
No, girl, you're fine. Don't worry. I'll just mention it on the bottom. All
right,
it's fine.
But then
I knew that coming in. I know you guys.
Sorry. But like then you have like the 23-year-old who is not in that. So, like
maybe it comes with age.
Yeah,
you know what? No, I see what you're saying. So maybe it's because, maybe it's because I'm 40 years old.
Right.
And,
I don't know. Maybe
I've moved into that. But I do know plenty of other 40-year-olds that are not necessarily in that mind space.
But they're probably not happy with their life. Sorry. Like that, like I feel like the louder and the more like quantity of content and whatever you're putting out there, the less, like I said, less confident you are. And if you're not confident in yourself, then you're probably not super confident in your life. And so I don't know. I mean, I think it's all linked to that.
Well, and it's just like if you're spending all that time and energy putting content about yourself out there, then what are you missing out on? Like, what are you not doing with that time and energy, right? Like living your life,
Yeah, no, I think that about like let's bring that back to the Gen Z and for the younger kids, like for let's say a 14-year-old girl who is producing a lot of content, who is looking for that external validation. What is that, taking away from? Could be reading a book, could be working out, could be hanging out with friends, could be hanging out with your siblings and your parents, like building real connections in real life.
Yeah. Did you read Anxious Generation? Have you read that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know how he talks about opportunity cost in that book, which I love that term because any time spent using this kind of technology there is an opportunity cost. You're losing an opportunity to do something else, right? That's like likely probably something more meaningful, real life experiences.
I mean, I also think that like, if you don't have buy-in, you know what I mean? Like opportunity, do they want the opportunity? Like is what matters most to a 13-year-old?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like,
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I'm not saying like, let them be on like external validation. That's just like part of that chunk. But it's like, and going back to like thinking like parents, like thinking that kids can manage their time and whatever. In order for someone to become more secure in themselves, real life interactions, you have to have them. Yeah. And so like, you can't expect a 14-year-old girl to be like, Mom, let's go, let's play Monopoly. I mean, maybe there's some, but like, that's just like, that's harder, riskier, boring, potentially uncomfortable. And it's much easier just to like,
Yep.
And so like, that's like, in order for a kid to like, get the opportunity, the parent would have to interject
100%
for the opportunity to even happen, or to even for the kid to want to do that.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. There was actually, speaking of Jonathan Haidt, there was a really interesting article. I don't know if he wrote it or he reposted it the other day on Threads. And it was a study about how kids want to play analog things, but their parents are either too busy to do that. Did you see that? You're nodding, Laura.
Yeah. Opposite of digital, basically.
Like what's analog?
Like the kids, just like, what are you talking about analog?
Like,
no, the kids are saying that they want to play things offline with their parents, but their parents are too busy. And I did not read the entire article, but I did see the headline and that it popped up, and that broke my heart.
Yes.
But because parents nowadays are so busy with work and other obligations that they don't necessarily have the time or the commitment to be able to sit down and play Monopoly, to your point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But there's repeated studies about kids wanting more boundaries on their personal electronic devices, kids wishing that they didn't have cell phones, that they didn't have social media. At my daughter's school, they actually did like a kind of like internal study where they had all of the kids, I think in middle school and high school, fill out these surveys. And it was like overwhelming majority wishes they didn't have cell phones, that they didn't have social media. It was anonymous, which helps them be honest. And it was just so sad because it was like, our kids are screaming out to us that like, this is really having a big negative impact on them. And like, we're the ones as parents ultimately who are in control most of the time of what they have access to. We have to buy them the cell phone. We have to buy them the iPad. Like they don't just get those things, So like, we want them to have less of it. They want to have less of it. And somehow like we're still going down this trajectory where they have more and more access to it.
Yeah. I mean, I think boundaries, they want boundaries as it relates to tech. Like kids, we know that kids are most successful and confident when they know exactly, not all the time, but know what to expect. It's predictable. It's safe. There are limits. And that relieves space in their brain to figure life out. So like if they know exactly what to expect 80% of the time, right, then they can learn and they can adapt and be more flexible. Like that's why kids, like when I have the kid who's like a terror at home, but thriving at school, I'm like, well, they know like it's 7:48. They know exactly where to go. Where's their backpack, where to sit, who do I talk to? How do I talk to them? Like they know exactly what to expect so they can relax and do their job, learn.
And the problem is that like no kid is going to like directly say this verbally to their parents, right? Like no kids.
They don't even know.
They don't know.
They don't like that. We shouldn't expect them to know.
Well, and like for a teenager, if you think like they're going to be honest on an anonymous survey, they're not going to be honest face to face with their parents, right? Like they're going to keep saying like, no, I want my cell phone. I want more. I want more. I want more. When in reality, they want the boundaries, but they're not, they can't, because of that relationship and like individuation and all that kind of stuff, they can't directly say that to the parent. And so a lot of parents, I think, just go with what the kid is actually saying verbally to them, right?
So
instead of knowing, my kid needs these boundaries and wants these boundaries, and I have to do things that are hard as a parent that my kids are going to buck up against.
Yeah. Right? And like, it's an addict. Like this is like typical, like not typical, a perfect representation of addiction.
Yes.
Like you have this thing that is producing like all of this dopamine and all this stuff or whatever. And now it's like, it's the same thing with a heroin user or an alcoholic or whatever. It's like, I know it's not good for me. I know it's making me like feel worse or whatever, but like I can't stop. And so then you have to there's just no like rehab for like 13-year-olds with social media. It's but it's the same concept.
It's the same thing. It's a highly addictive substance.
Mm-hmm.
It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because it's not regulated in the same way or even considered in the same way.
No.
I mean, I think that is starting to change. I think that people are becoming more aware and knowledgeable, and there is more research going into it. But the thing that like I always talk, because I do talks at schools and businesses about social media and screen time and like the consequences on kids' mental health and physical health. And the thing I always tell the parents is like, you need to realize that you're the last line of defense for your kid, right? Like you're the last one that gets to decide how much they have it, when they have it, what they have access to. Like you cannot wait for science to come around and tell you what to do, or pediatricians to come around and tell you what to do, or like tech companies to change, because they're not going to. You know, like you can't wait for all of that. Like, because then your kid's going to be grown up. It's going to be too late. You know, you got to like make these decisions, which are hard. It's hard. It's hard to be the parent that like sets these boundaries and holds them. It's really hard.
Yeah. No, it absolutely is. I have one final question for both of you, and I'm going to ask each of you. So, okay. What do you think is the biggest modern mom problem right now? And I'm going to go with Jessica first. I saw the look on your face. I was like, I'm going with Jessica.
What is the biggest modern mom money? I don't know.
No, that's a big one. Say it. Go ahead. Trust your gut. That's what I'm going to say. Trust your gut. Say the first thing you think of.
Yeah, money. I mean, like, I think everything is so expensive. Childcare is so expensive. I'm not saying everybody has to work, and I'm not saying I don't like to work, but I'm saying, like, it's not a choice. Buying a house, having a house, school, like tuition is wild. And so because like we have to work so hard to provide those things for our kids, by 6 p.m. I am done. And I am like, we're watching 101 Dalmatians. Everyone shut up, you know?
Yep.
Cause like I'm dead. And like, I don't want to be, but I am, because I'm drained. And like, would money solve that? Like, I don't know, maybe not, but like, listen, money will solve some stuff. Like, I'm not like it fucking like, someone to come in. Like, I don't have any family here to like if my kid gets sick, like there goes my whole, like $700 for the day or whatever, you know. I don't have family to go get them. I don't have like someone to like do all the fucking housework. You know, it's a one-man show, circus. And so like, if I had buckets of cash, then some of that shit would be relieved, and then I could be more present and calm and like laughing and whatever with my kids.
No, well said. That's absolutely a huge thing, and the cost of living is just absurd.
Totally out of control.
Lauren,
I would say balance. I think it is increasingly difficult for parents, and I would say moms, I'm going to be partial to moms here, to find balance in your life. I think every year, it's getting harder and harder because of all of the things that are leeching our attention and our energy, you know? And it's like, I struggle with this in my own life every single day, feeling like it is just so hard to find balance in my life. It's so hard.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of other moms struggle with that too.
Yeah. You're absolutely not alone on either of those two things. So no, thank you for sharing. Ladies, tell everyone where we can find you, where we can listen to the podcast.
So we are on, as far as like listening to the podcast, we're on all of your major platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Our social media is at Little Brain Campaign. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. So come check us out.
Yeah.
I love it. I love chatting with you.
Yeah,
we just
thank
keep
you.
it going. I could talk with you forever and ever and ever. I adore you both.
Thank you so much for having
Thanks,
us.
Tara.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Modern Mom Probs. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive in today's problem with me, your host, Tara Clark. Join me next time when I'll be interviewing another great guest and tackling another modern mom problem. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and a rating. As always, you could head over to Modern Mom Probs on Instagram and give me a follow, or check out my book, Modern Mom Probs, A Survival Guide for 21st Century Mothers, available online wherever books are sold. Well, that's it for today. See you next time, folks.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.